All right, you guys, it is Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni Day. Finally. I've been teasing that all week. And let me just say to all of the women out there that are watching, no matter what you do in life, you never, ever, ever go full Amber Heard. Plus, later on in the show, we're going to discuss President Zelenskyy, America's welfare queen, who has been spending all of your hard-earned cash. He apparently was able to make time to sit down with none other than Lex Fridman for a 3-hour interview. And I'm going to give you my perspective on that interview. And I'll tell you guys whether or not I have had a change of heart about President Zelenskyy. Spoiler alert, no, I have not. All that coming up, plus more on Candace. All right, to begin, let's start with the end. The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni, that we have to compartmentalize. Blake Lively is not a good person. So no matter what happens in this lawsuit, no matter who wins in the end, do not let it distract you from the fact that she has proven herself not to be a kind person, okay? And that's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist, which means that she grew up wealthy, her life has been perfect, and so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any. Okay, she has a track record of being difficult to work with, well established before Justin Baldoni was ever in the picture. We had already recapped this in an earlier episode from last year, but from Anna Kendrick, to Armie Hammer, who got fired from Gossip Girl because he said during a dinner that she was a bitch to Leighton Meester, she has a very distinct working pattern. But primarily, people don't like to work with Blake Lively. I can also tell you personally, back when I was an intern at Glamour magazine, working under an editor, she said the most difficult person that she has ever worked with and the rudest person that she had ever worked with was Blake Lively, who got the cover of Glamour at some time when I was working at Glamour magazine. And so people just know this behind the scenes. You should just know that she is a bit of a brat, okay? I will say also regarding Blake Lively, I just saw her coming. Going back to what I said yesterday on the show about how my brain works, I always just notice weird things. I gave you guys that Men in Black analogy, that example rather, when Will Smith randomly shoots the 8-year-old while every other agent is shooting all of the aliens in the room. He's like, what's up with this 8-year-old? My brain works like that regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds when I just recognize that they do things and say things that let me know, that signal to me that they are up on their high horses and that they potentially treat people very badly and that really they're bored and rich, right? One time while speaking to a reporter, Blake Lively said that her and Ryan Reynolds referred to bugs and animals as she and her, as opposed to he and him, to their young daughter because they're raising a little feminist. Like, that's annoying. That's just objectively annoying. Another circumstance that made me see right through Ryan Reynolds and the kind of person that he is was when, despite being friends with Joe Alwyn, who dated Taylor Swift for 5 years, she's best friends with Blake Lively, he was actually became friends with Joe Alwyn for 5 years of dating. And then Taylor Swift snapped her fingers, broke up with him. And the headline ran that, she went to dinner and got photographed with Blake and Ryan. And then immediately after the dinner, Ryan and Blake and 2 other of her friends, the Haim sisters and Gigi Hadid, all staged a mass unfollowing of Joe Alwyn like they were 13 years old. Just to let them know, we're on her side. We're ride or die for her. Okay, Ryan, you're 48 years old. Grow up. Literally grow up. You can still follow your pal Joe Alwyn. That's not how people conduct themselves in a divorce. And to go get pictured before you do it to show him I'm team girl, pathetic, and also a little bit gay. Anyways, getting back to the Justin Baldoni thing, things sort of reached an inflection point for Blake Lively's reputation while she was promoting the movie It Ends With Us, co-starring, like I said, Justin Baldoni. I can't tell you anything about him. I don't have an opinion on him. He's not as well known as her. He's not as A-list as her, as you would say, because she hangs out with Taylor Swift all the time. But we did become aware that there was a feud between the two and that they positively hated one another because they were promoting this film and these articles started leaking, really initially not in Justin's favor at first, basically saying that he had been inappropriate on TMZ, saying that he asked her about her weight and because he had to lift her for a scene. And when the public began to look into this, they actually ended up siding against Blake Lively. And it wasn't because of Justin Baldoni. It was because they didn't like the way she was answering questions on the red carpet about the film. Now, I've never seen the film. Apparently, it's about domestic violence. It's a serious topic. And Blake Lively was like promoting her hair products, and they just thought it was a bit tone deaf. And then the thing that really sent the internet a storm was when they dug into her past interviews and realized that Blake Lively is, well, not a very kind person, as feminists are not allowed to be, because they always just have to be a feminist. And apparently that means being mean to people that are interviewing you. And it was this clip that set the internet on fire of her being interviewed by Kirsty Flaw. And it's her sitting down with Parker Posey. Take a listen. It's hard to watch.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
They are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you, thank you.
Are
You like the movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan?
I love most of his movies, and this one was so like visually amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Now, to remind you, aside from being weird, because she's saying something about her bump, like, congratulations, I'm pregnant, I would just answer that question normally, but obviously she's offended because she's a feminist, and you have to look to be offended. She was working on a film with Woody Allen. It was I think that was the Age of Adeline, whatever it was called. I never saw it. Point being is that it was a period piece, so the outfits were kind of amazing, as these like period pieces tend to have really good outfits. And the woman, God forbid, asked her a question about the character and the character's outfits. And here's how Blake Lively responded to her.
Do you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, working in
Everyone
digital...
wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I love little Jesse's suits and how
That's what I'm
he
saying. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know,
Corey's
everybody.
wardrobe was
I know.
gorgeous.
He's
Those
so
high-waisted pants.
So there it is. That's just modern feminism on steroids, where they just can't even think straight because they're perpetually offended and they're remarkably unlikable. So the internet started pulling out these clips, and suddenly there were these headlines, and people were just very upset with Blake Lively and started stringing together her pattern, okay? So her reputation, you could say, last year completely tanked. And it didn't seem like it was going to be salvageable, because that's how the internet works. Once they start to see who you are, they don't tend to forgive you. But then suddenly, okay, right before Christmas on December 20th, Blake Lively filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni and others in California, claiming sexual harassment. She alleged that Justin Baldoni and producer Jamie Heath had really poor behavior on set, and that they organized that smear campaign against her during the promotion of the film, and that campaign caused her grief, fear, trauma, and extreme anxiety. That's all per the filing. And also that Baldoni was sort of a creep, that he had, quote, inserted improvised, gratuitous sexual content and or scenes which involved nudity into the film, including for an underage character, in highly unsettling ways, okay? Now, I want to make something very clear to you. She filed a complaint at first, not a lawsuit. Okay, so on December 20th, she had filed a complaint with the Californian Civil Rights Department, alleging all of that stress and a hostile work environment, okay, you name it. But what's interesting is, despite filing this complaint, and despite this complaint supposed to be by California law, it was supposed to be completely private, unless somebody, after they had investigated it, maybe filed an FOIA, they could have gotten a hold of it. She files it on December 20th, and lo and behold, on the 21st, the day after, somehow the New York Times gets a hold of it, okay? A private complaint, should have remained private. Suddenly, the New York Times gets a hold of it, and they run the complaint in its entirety the day after, with an accompanying article, which was published the day after that, on December 22nd. So within 48 hours, the New York Times got it, published it, and ran this headline: "We can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear machine." You can see it says private messages detail an alleged campaign to tarnish Blake Lively after she accused Justin Baldoni of misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us. Okay, So you can imagine the public sees this and people are reading it. The New York Times is basically burying Justin Baldoni in this. They're saying they're releasing private emails between him and his PR team and private emails amongst just the PR team, basically saying, as they quote, "We can bury anyone." And of course, just what Blake Lively would have expected. Instantly, Hollywood floods in. Me Too has been resurrected. They're giving statements. Amber Heard comes out of the woodwork and gives a statement, which I feel like after allegedly pooping on Johnny Depp's bed, she should maybe always sit this one out, but she didn't. She's like, nope, I'm with her. We're all with her. But actually, quite remarkably, the internet for the first time had a bit of pause. And one of the things that they had a bit of pause about was, why did she not file a lawsuit? If this is all true, why did Blake Lively not file a lawsuit? And instead kind of went to a civil rights private thing and then gave it to the New York Times. I mean, they're alleging she gave it to the New York Times. I don't know who else could have given it to the New York Times. I don't think Justin Baldoni or anyone on his team gave it to her. And they started to ask the question, was this actually just a way to salvage her reputation? They were unsure. But I want to show you what is in this lawsuit because it's super interesting, okay? So like I said, the entire point of this lawsuit, when you read through it, and I did, basically just makes Justin Baldoni sound like a massive perv. Like he just loves sex. He loves pornography. He's just like some super turned on dude all the time who can't stop talking about pornography. And he was trying to get basically Blake Lively into these compromising positions because I guess maybe he just wanted to see her naked. And so they have, and I'm going to read you this directly from a lawsuit, to add insult to injury, Mr. Heath, that's the other director, approached Ms. Lively and her assistant on set and started playing a video of a fully nude woman with her legs spread apart. Ms. Lively thought that he was showing her pornography and she stopped him. Mr. Heath explained that the video was his wife giving birth. Ms. Lively was alarmed and asked Mr. Heath if his wife knew that he was sharing the video, to which he replied, "She isn't weird about this stuff," as if Ms. Lively was weird for not welcoming it. Ms. Lively and her assistant excused themselves, stunned that Mr. Heath had shown them a nude video. So when that was transcribed by the New York Times, they kind of made it sound like he literally was just showing her pornographic images. And they didn't kind of give you the context that actually what they were debating was how they should film a birthing scene that Blake Lively was in. And he was trying to say, and I guess in this, I have not seen the film, but it's a natural labor, no drugs. And as you know, for us crunchy moms who follow this on the internet, this is like supposed to be this majestic moment. Women tend to be in a bathtub, they tend to be nude. And I guess he was trying to say to her, like, this is how I want this scene to run. And she's now telling the public that essentially she thought that she was being shown pornography on a phone. And I have to say, in the myriad of topics, in the myriad of categories, rather, of pornography that are on the internet. You know, we do the annual list of the top 5 things people are searching for on Pornhub to show you how disturbing it is. Never in my life have I heard of a category of women giving birth. That doesn't tend to be a thing that turns men on, that they would describe as pornographic, right? That doesn't tend to be something that you hear. In fact, it's almost the opposite when you get men, young men, who are completely immature and are like, that's my worst nightmare, the idea of my wife giving birth or of a woman giving birth, you know? And so I just felt like that was wildly manipulative. The lawsuit goes on to allege, the civil complaint goes on to allege that there was also this sort of sexualization in terms of her breastfeeding, or at least that's what you get when they say that the disturbing conduct allegedly continued while filming, with Lively accusing Baldoni and Heath of entering her trailer uninvited while she was undressed or vulnerable, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child, the complaint alleges. The complaint further states that Baldoni improvised physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively, with no intimacy coordinator involved. So there's supposed to be a person there while you are shooting these intimate scenes that says, okay, making sure that everybody's comfortable, and that person was not there. And this is where she gets into a bit of a contradiction when I read through the lawsuit, because she is all at once trying to tell us that she's maybe so irresistibly hot, or maybe she's not so hot, but he thinks she's enough that he wants to be with her, that he's using scenes to improvise and to kiss her too long. And like, you know, obviously he is doing this because he's just addicted to pornography. She talks about him speaking about his pornography addiction in the past. And the website, I mean, the lawsuit literally reads, Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform a scene, but he did not act in character. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was done remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Mr. Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Miss Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Okay, so she's like, he's creepy, he is attracted to you, but then she completely flips later on in the lawsuit where she says that he made her feel ugly, old, and fat, that he stormed into her room and it was with tears in his eyes, and said that people on the internet think that she looks old and that she looks fat. And so she goes on to also accuse him of harassment for going to her trainer and asking if she can lose weight in 2 weeks. It says Mr. Baldoni routinely degraded Miss Lively for finding back-channel ways of criticizing her body and weight. A few weeks before filming began and less than 4 months after Miss Lively had given birth to her 4th child, Ms. Lively was humiliated to learn that Mr. Baldoni secretly called her fitness trainer without her knowledge or permission and implied that he wanted her to lose weight within 2 weeks. So which is it? So I'm just saying, this is me reading the lawsuit. I'm like, okay, so is he just wants to breathe on you and kiss you and caress you because you're so hot, or he's just such a freak, or also is he just disgusted by you and making you feel old and ugly and fat? I mean, I have some instant red flags when I read this lawsuit, but it was this last piece that made me go, okay, you are being wildly manipulative, and I am now ready for this to all come out in court, okay? This is the exact language of the lawsuit. It reads, Mr. Baldoni inserted improvised, gratuitous, sexual content and or scenes involving nudity into the film, including for an underage character in highly unsettling ways. So I read that and I'm like, okay, now we're inching towards, oh, this guy, even young girls, underage character, he's doing this even to young women on set. And then I read the comments that were beneath this article, and someone pointed out to me that that was manipulative language because while it says underage character, okay, the actress that played the underage character is not underage at all. So the protagonist of this film, it used to be a book, it's been adapted into a film, is a young woman named Lily Bloom. So Blake Lively plays the older Lily Bloom, and another actress plays the younger Lily Bloom. So that's the underage character, which is played by Isabella Ferrer, but Isabella Ferrer is 23 years old. So just by putting that in the lawsuit and knowing that not everybody has seen this film, not everybody has read the book, and even if they have, they don't know how old Isabella Ferrer is, it was a way to make it sound like Justin Baldoni, again, was this huge creep. And when I found that out, I said, okay, she's playing a very interesting game. There was also weird lawsuit moments where she also said that she felt anxiety because he told her that he could speak to dead people, and that he could reach her father, and her father had recently died. That part's just weird. I don't know. Hollywood people they just have too much. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. It's a weird thing to put in a lawsuit. But again, she's trying to compound and be like, I was just a mess and I was so uncomfortable. Anyways, like I said, initially the Hollywood public took her side, but I think everybody is still a little PTSD from the Amber Heard turd, and they're going, okay, I'm just gonna wait and actually see how this thing plays out. And it's a good thing that they did, okay? Because then Justin Baldoni responded in a very big way to this lawsuit. 11 days later, on December 31st, Justin Baldoni filed a $250 million lawsuit, okay, against the New York Times for libel. And let me tell you, he fully brought some receipts by releasing personal text messages between him and Blake Lively that painted an entirely different picture. And he basically is saying the New York Times intentionally pick and chose certain emails without providing their full context. Like in one email, she's trying to say that they inserted and planted this article which said that her career was over. her, but they left out the portions of the email which made it very clear that they were being sarcastic, and that what actually happened was that he hired a PR crisis team because Blake Lively was being such a monster and dropping these things in the press. And so they were planning to go to battle if she kept going, but they never actually ended up having to go to battle because the public ended up hating her based on her old interviews. And they have proof that they had nothing to do with that article happening. And so they were just laughing behind the scenes at like, oh, well, I guess I did a great job here because we don't have to do anything. People are seeing through Blake Lively all by themselves. And we haven't actually had to counter anything that she said. Also countering another allegation that he was actually invited into Blake Lively's trailer. He dropped the text message receipts while she was breastfeeding. He attached a screenshot of a conversation in which she said to him, "I'm pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines." He responded to her, "Copy, eating with the crew, and I will head that way." So if you signal to someone, and by the way, for every woman it's different. I've seen women that are out in public and will just pop out both of their breasts and feed their twins like in the middle of a restaurant. They don't care, okay? Other people, obviously I have worked through, now this is gonna be a fourth child, and when I am in my room, back when I was working at Daily Wire and I was breastfeeding my son, if he was latched and I could throw a blanket over myself, I didn't care. I would like to prep the show. Some women might be completely different. They might want to be completely alone. But if you're signaling to your co-star that it's okay to come in the trailer while you're pumping or breastfeeding, why is he going to then understand that on a different occasion, you're actually completely uncomfortable with him doing that? And so to misrepresent that relationship, I think, is what has Justin Baldoni's team extremely upset. They also obviously came back regarding the birthing pornography and called the video rather a deeply personal one with no sexual overtone, obviously. And they said that her trying to frame that video of the director's wife as pornography is emblematic of the lengths to which Lively and her collaborators are willing to go to defame the plaintiffs. I tend to agree with that. Like I said, I've never heard of someone describing a birthing video, a woman giving birth, as pornography. That seems completely ridiculous. And I want to show you these clips because they are hitting back hard. And I'll tell you this, after the public then kept saying, why did you not file an actual lawsuit? This was a sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit. And I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has played this. The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show. And here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a sexual claim. There never was a sexual claim until she went to that civil rights office. Take a listen.
There was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed. I mean, that's when the allegations of sexual harassment came up. They didn't come up before then.
Well, there was in a 17-point memo that you referenced. She was raising some of these issues.
Well, that's right. But I mean, in terms of the public, she raised them in the 17-point memo. They had agreed to 17 points that they would agree that there were simple points that everybody would go back and she would return to work. There's a signed document saying they worked things out. In the actual lawsuit itself, it says everything went fine from then on. So, you know, and the question really is, why was Crisis PR brought in? Well, Crisis PR was brought in because there were negative stories about Justin that were being leaked to the media, not about sexual harassment. There were negative stories about Justin being brought in saying no one likes him. He's been a problem on set. You know, stories like that. And Crisis PR was brought in to say, this won't be good for the film. Crisis PR was also brought in because there were negative stories about Blake Lively, not that Justin created, but that existed out there. I mean, you know, fans and media can be brutal. They go back through your history. They go back and look and say, what interviews have you given before? How have you treated people? How, you know, are you promoting the film in a way where you're promoting your hair care products and in a way that's not true and genuine as far as domestic violence is concerned. They go back and they see those videos. They bring them out organically. That's not Justin doing that. That's not Justin's crisis PR doing it. In fact, what he wants is a successful movie. He wants to protect the movie. And all through the text messages, you'll see over and over and over again, him saying, I don't want to hurt her. I want to protect her. Let's give her what she wants. Let's help her. That's what he's doing.
And I can say that's what I also found problematic, and you should actually go watch that entire interview that he gave to Megyn Kelly, but they left out some very crucial, vindicating text messages with Justin Baldoni being concerned about not wanting to hurt her, but also trying to protect himself when he saw that he was being smeared as this person. Now, I don't know if Justin Baldoni is a good guy. I am sure, listen, you know, I respect him in Hollywood. I think the majority of people that are in Hollywood are not great people. But after reading through the messages that were in context, there is no question in my mind that the New York Times is going to be in very big trouble for libeling, intentionally libeling, very easy emails that they could have presented to the public that showed that the PR people were joking and laughing about the fact that this was happening to her because they view her to be a bad person, but they were not planting these articles in any way, shape, or form. And when you remove that context and try to make it sound like Justin was involved in that, and not that he simply said, I want to protect myself, I don't want to hurt her, but I want to protect myself, it's just bad business. And again, who leaked it? Who leaked within 24 hours, the New York Times being able to have something to the entire public? It could have only been one person. Obviously, it had to have come from Blake Lively's orbit. That's my view of it. I will also show you why I do believe, and I'm making a guess here, people were very anti-me when I said Amber Heard was going to lose. I just have a way about reading women when it comes to these sorts of things. And I knew that Amber Heard was not being entirely honest about the Johnny Depp stuff. And everyone was like, oh, she's got a bruise on her cheek. I just said, doesn't register me as correct. He's been married so long. His wife, Vanessa, former ex-wife, Vanessa Paradis, was coming out in support of him. Despite having a long marriage, wouldn't she have recognized that he liked to punch women in the face? Everything just registered to me as very wrong about that. And in the end, I was proving right. I'm going to say the same thing about Blake Lively. I don't think this is going to be good for her. And this lawyer's language in terms of saying when people see all the text messages, they're going to realize who the real Blake Lively is a strong vote for me. A strong vote that the public in the end is going to recognize that Blake Lively was being manipulative. And I'll let you listen to what Brian said about those text messages.
And unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, this is the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions, and they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
Here's what I think happened. I think Blake Lively legitimately did not believe. I think when she had all that bad press happening, she could not fathom that people didn't like her. I think she truly believed that Justin Baldoni was behind it. I don't think she did this to create a narrative. I think she saw it and said, this has to be him. This has to be him. And unfortunately, I think she was wrong. Okay. And so I think to counter that bad PR, and she saw her reputation going down, she decided to play what she thought was an equally nasty PR game by filing this lawsuit in the civil rights court, never with the intention of ever having to then take it to the real courts. I don't think that she ever wanted that. Unfortunately, she was wrong. She filed it, and the public then said, wait a second, are you playing a PR game rather than Justin Baldoni? And now she had to back that up by really filing it in court. And what's going to happen is now the entire public is going to see what happened, who was leaking stuff to who. And like I said, my money is on Blake Lively being wrong. I think she is 100% wrong. This doesn't make him a good guy, doesn't make Justin Baldoni a great guy. Please do not think I'm a Justin Baldoni stan. I know nothing about him, and I hate 90% of Hollywood. But in this circumstance, I think I just think he's going to win the lawsuit. And I think New York Times, based on what I have seen of the what I would describe as doctored correspondences, doctoring it by not giving people the full correspondences, is going to end up having to settle this lawsuit and paying Justin Baldoni, as well as the PR women that are listed in this lawsuit, paying them out for misrepresenting what they actually said. That's my take. You can agree with it. You can not agree with it. Can't wait to see what your comments are. First, want to just throw it to one of our advertisers, PreBorn. You guys know January is considered Sanctity of Life Month, a time that we honor the over 66 million babies whose lives have been tragically ended through abortion. Sadly, since Roe was overturned, babies' lives are at an even greater risk because of the abortion pill. It accounts for over 60% of all abortions, making this tragedy available 24/7. But in the midst of the darkness, there is always a light that shines, and PreBorn is that light. They have rescued over 300,000 babies from abortion. On average, they rescue over 200 babies a day. And when a woman considering abortion hears her baby's heartbeat and sees her baby on the ultrasound, that baby's chance at life doubles. PreBorn definitively needs our help. For just $28, the cost of a dinner, you can sponsor an ultrasound to introduce a mother to her baby for the first time. 100% of your donation will go towards saving babies. So to donate, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Also going to remind you guys about Field of Greens, because I know that so many people are making a New Year's resolution to get healthier this year. If you're looking for an easy, effective way to do it, one of the first things that you should do is ask yourself is, what supplement will promise me better health? And that is the point of green drinks and health supplements, or what rather is the point of green drinks and health supplements if you aren't 100% confident that they will improve your health. That is why you should check out Field of Greens. They have a better health promise, which makes it radically different from the others. You can enjoy a delicious Field of Greens drink each day. At your next checkup, your doctor will notice that you have improved health, or you will get your money back. All the fruits and vegetables were doctor selected for a specific health benefit. Field of Greens is perfect for heart health, lungs, kidney, metabolism, and even maintaining a healthy weight. One drink a day is all it takes. You will look and feel healthier, and you will have more energy. And like I said, your doctor will notice it, or you'll get your money back. So get your New Year's discount with code Candace at fieldofgreens.com. Again, that's fieldofgreens.com with promo code Candace, fieldofgreens.com. All right, guys, question for you. What's your opinion on Lex Fridman? I want to see what the chat says about this, because I have some instincts. I've always got some instincts. Sometimes you guys agree with me. Sometimes you don't agree with me. Sometimes I am proven right. Sometimes I am not proven right. Lex Fridman, if you guys are not familiar with him, is a podcaster, and his backstory is just strange. It's odd. Graduates from Drexel University with a PhD in his dad's department. His brother graduated from the same department. He came after the collapse of the USSR. This guy, apparently, while working on his PhD, starts a podcast, and every big name in the entire world has been on this podcast. And I guess I could believe that if there was a draw. What I mean by that is, we talk about the it factor. We don't know what the it factor is, but we know when we see it. Lex Fridman would be like the opposite of the it factor. It is very hard to listen to a Lex Fridman podcast. He has a very monotonous voice and talks like this. And somehow, let me tell you the names that have been on his podcast. Ready? Javier Milei, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Kevin Spacey, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and recently, President Zelensky. Now, people believe that Lex Fridman works for the CIA. Obviously, the CIA has, we know this via Project Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, that they have people that they just create fame for. They make them famous. Allegedly also people like Anderson Cooper, who was a CIA intern. And they give these people a following. They recommend their videos. And the idea of doing that is to promote things that the state wants, okay? They believe he's CIA/Mossad. We all kind of think they're the same organization. He did do his PhD thesis under a former IDF minister, or somebody that worked for the IDF, who went to Tel Aviv University. And he blocks everyone that calls him CIA or Mossad, which is also interesting. His backstory just doesn't make any sense, you guys. Like I said, if he was some remarkable talent, and I'd be like, oh, now I could kind of get it why everyone's going on his podcast. I can't watch it. It's too boring for me to listen to him, okay? So President Zelensky, okay, our welfare baby mama, we're paying for his lifestyle, we're paying for his wife, we're paying for this once upon a time who everybody, including the New York Times, acknowledged was a corrupt oligarch. decided to make time from this very busy war. You know, he's always wearing the military fatigues to remind you to get to work and support his war, that he had 3 hours available to sit down with Lex Fridman. Now, I want you to weigh the press response when Tucker Carlson went over to interview Vladimir Putin. They freaked out. That's what signaled to me that Tucker Carlson is not a plant, right? Because if you are, they'd be like, yes, sit down with him because you're going to give us our narrative. Lex Fridman promoted everywhere by the people that I trust least. Oh, you must watch this. He's sitting down with Zelensky because the press keeps trying to turn him into a hero. And what we're watching, in my view, is 2 bad faith actors that are trying to sanitize what is happening in that region. Lex Fridman always plays the role of, we need more love and more conversation. I'll talk to anyone. But it's not hard to talk to anyone when you seem to be speaking to people that I'm pretty sure are just kind of like ruling the world. I mean, I think he even sat down with Bibi Netanyahu. It's like insane. This guy, this podcaster, just booking these people out of nowhere. So, yeah, I'm going to show you a couple of clips from their conversation. First and foremost, the weirdest thing about this that I caught is Lex Fridman inviting Zelensky over to Texas to have a barbecue, but saying that this would be the 3rd time that they met with one another. Take a listen.
Well, when you come and visit me in Texas as a guest for the 3rd time.
With pleasure.
Let's do this. How about you, my friend Joe Rogan, and I will go get some Texas barbecue together?
Who will pay?
That's a good question.
Putin. For everything. He has to pay.
Well, yes, we'll invite him too.
No.
Okay.
Without him.
Okay, I get it. Understood.
Who will pay? I don't know, Zelensky. Do you have a couple of spare billion sitting around from the American taxpayers you've just been funneling money from? It's not even funny. It's not cute to me. This is not cute to me. You are not selling this to the American taxpayer. It is so fraudulent. It is so disrespectful. Who will pay? I update. I still want to punch Zelensky in the face. I thought this would change my heart against him, and it actually hasn't. It's only infuriated me further. And he basically alleges throughout this interview that, you know, why would I want to compromise with Vladimir Putin? He says he just thinks Putin, which has obviously been the state-sanctioned opinion for people who don't bother to read Putin's speeches. You cannot rely on the West to tell you what's going on. We are just as severely propagandized. You need to read what the West is saying and what the East is saying, and then rely on your discernment, truly. And Zelensky is trying to pull the old Putin crazy. He didn't seem to be crazy and out of control during that Tucker Carlson interview that they all freaked out about, right? He seemed to have a very good memory of history and to explain his position, whether you feel he told the truth or not. Seeming like a crazy wild man was not what people took away from that interview, but that's what Zelensky is trying to say to us. So take a listen to him explaining why he just can't imagine compromising with Vladimir Putin.
Unfortunately, the reality is that a compromise is needed in order to reach an agreement.
In your understanding, the fact that he is in jailed after all the murders, he is not in jailed assuming all the murders, and no one in the world is able to put him in his place, send him to prison. Do you think this is a small compromise?
This is not a small compromise, and to forgive him will not be a small compromise.
To forgive, no one will forgive. This is absolutely impossible to forgive him. We cannot get into the head and soul of a person who lost their family. Nobody never will accept this. Absolutely impossible. I don't know, do you have children?
No, not yet,
Okay.
but I would like to.
Yes. God bless. And this is the most important thing in life. And they simply took away the most precious thing from you, will you ask? Who ruined your life before going to rip their head off? I'm just curious. They took your child away. Are you going to ask who did this? And they will answer that dude did this. You will say, oh, well, then there are no questions. No, you will go hell and bite their head off.
Someone in the comments just said, Candace is too pregnant for Zelensky. Yes, I am too pregnant for Zelensky. I'm too pregnant for his acting. He literally was an actor on a TV series and then became the president, and he's acting there. And while he's trying to tell us, Putin killed people's family, yet you are literally sending an entire generation of Ukrainian Christians to the meat grinder in a war that you know you can't win. So you're going to call Putin a murderer? You're a murderer. I see you as a murderer, and the worst kind of murderer, because you're taking our tax dollars to do it. So I'm not persuaded by that. And then finally, we have this clip of basically them discussing how peace can be achieved in that region. Take a listen.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think? Will there ever be a day when the Ukrainian people forgive the Russian people and both peoples will travel back and forth again and marry each other, rekindle and form friendships? Will there be such a time in the future?
I think history has long answered this question. I don't know how it will be for us. It will be in the future. Without a doubt, history has shown this time. And again, after every devastating war, one generation, one country recognizes that it was an aggressor, and it comes to realize this is impossible to forgive. This is precisely the kind of education they've had in Germany for many years, even though these children had nothing to do with it. It was their grandfathers who participated, and not all of them were participants of Nazi Germany's war against, essentially against the world. Yes. And against life. And therefore, they're still apologizing. Apologizing is not easy. They know that they were the aggressors.
Okay, we just gotta get out of this propaganda. We just literally have to get out of this. How do you guys feel? You're feeling persuaded to send more billions? You're feeling persuaded to get back to work and give him more money because he's telling you, he's even saying like, this is like, look what's going on. You know, I have no idea how I got in this predicament. I'm just here to be the hero. It wasn't because NATO was expanding into Putin's territory after assurances that we would never expand NATO 1 inch eastward. Don't you see how much emotion and emoting that I'm doing? Don't you understand? I'm now making Holocaust references. Obviously, I'm the good guy. I look at that guy and I see Henrique Goda. That's who I see. I see a man who's mass murdering Christians and a media that is trying to soft sell him to us. And I'm just not buying it. Truly, correctly stated, I am too pregnant to buy into Zelensky's BS. Anyways, you guys, before we get into your comments, I do want to very quickly give you some good news. There's like maybe 4 good people in Hollywood that are decent human beings. And I love coming across them. This is an old clip, but I'm only bringing it up because Tom Holland just announced his engagement to Zendaya. And I like her as an actress, Zendaya, and I think that their relationship has been healthy and wholesome, which you rarely see in Hollywood. And the reason why I like Tom Holland is because he's a rare example of a young person in Hollywood who is not drinking and doing drugs. And he is speaking about why he stopped drinking at such a young age. And so let's just listen to him explain why for him he realized that drinking was not it. Take a listen.
It's interesting. I didn't one day wake up and say, I'm giving up drinking. I just, like many Brits, had a very, very boozy December. Christmas time, I was on vacation, I was drinking a lot. And I've always been able to drink a lot. And I decided to just give up for January. I just wanted to do dry January. And all I could think about was having a drink. It's all I could think about. I was waking up thinking about it. I was checking the clock. When's it 12? And it just really scared me. I just was like, wow, maybe I have a little bit of an alcohol thing. So I sort of decided to punish myself and say, I'll do February as well. I'll do 2 months off. If I can do 2 months off, then I can prove to myself that I don't have a problem. 2 months go by, and I was still really struggling. I felt like I couldn't be social. I felt like I couldn't go to the pub and have a lime soda. I couldn't go out for dinner. I was really, really struggling. And I started to really worry that maybe I had an alcohol problem. So I decided that I would wait until my birthday, which is June 1st. I said to myself, if I can do 6 months without alcohol, then I can prove to myself that I don't have a problem. And by the time I had got to June 1st, I was the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Like I said, you never see that ever in Hollywood. You never see people speaking about that because it's always so cool to be pictured with a glass of wine. And so congratulations to him and Zendaya on their engagement. I am excited about that because he just seems like a good person. I don't know. You could see the light in his eyes. You don't normally see that light in the eyes of people that are in Hollywood. Certainly not when they're young do they give up the booze. It's usually when they're much older and they've kind of ruined tons of things and ruined tons of people. Then they're like, I've quit. Alcohol is actually a bad thing. So kudos to them. All right, let's hear what you guys are thinking about Justin. You know what we should have done? Can you run a poll right now, Skylar, in the live chat and say who they think will win this lawsuit, Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively? And we'll read that poll. I'll get to this ad and then we'll get into comments. You can run that poll, right, Skylar? Okay, great. Just reminding you guys also, before we get into your comments about American financing, I know there are a lot of people that are struggling with high credit card bills, and there is no better time than now to wipe out that debt and set yourself up for a strong 2025. Because interest rates have fallen, and my friends at American Financing can help you access equity in your home at an interest rate in the 5s. You heard that. It is in the 5s. That is a much lower rate than the average 25% credit card rate. So you can think about how much you could be saving every month. American Financing is saving their customers an average of $800 a month, and that is essentially a $10,000 raise to start the new year. And they are closing in as fast as 10 days and even delaying 2 mortgage payments. So call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Okay, so we just ran a poll in the chat. The question that we are asking is, who will win the lawsuit, Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively? So thus far, I've only received 2,200 votes, but of those 2,200 votes, 92% believe that Justin Baldoni is going to win. Keep the poll running as we go through comments. That means just 8% believe that Blake Lively is going to win. All right, guys, what do you have for me today? What are you guys saying in the comments section? Be nice. Be nice. Alaska Dog Lady writes, my list of trust across all media, mainstream and independent, is down to maybe 3 whole people. I haven't been pregnant since 2013, and I too am too pregnant for Zelenskyy, right? I don't even know what's happened, but you just see it and you're like, you're a fraud. Like, stop being so fraudulent. Like I say, everything is fake and gay. And I'm watching that and I'm going, this all is very fake. It is all very fake and gay. Sarah writes, fake and gay merch for Valentine's Day. Yes, we are doing that. We're dropping the next Candace cup, which is going to say everything is fake and gay. I just approved designs yesterday, so you should expect that announcement early next week. Noelle naturally writes, I feel bad for Colleen Hoover. That is the author of the It Ends With Us book. Scandalous, shady stuff going down in her first movie. Hopefully Blake Lively will do the right thing, but she won't want to eat her own words. Yeah, I bet she loves it. It's probably created, they say there's no such thing as bad press, and it's probably created so much press about the movie that it was more successful than it would have been because they hate each other. So people wanted to see if it translated on screen. Apparently it didn't. So kudos to the both of them. And I am interested to see what Blake Lively will do. I don't think she wants to go through with this lawsuit. Like I said, it's just not a good thing. When a lawyer is saying, we're dropping every text message, that means they're feeling good about the case. They're feeling real good about the case. Black Panther writes, where can I find online articles about vaccines? I think I told you guys this, but we are bringing a Shot in the Dark back this month. A little bit of a delay. It's going to be towards the end of the month. We were hoping it was going to be at the beginning of the month, and we're trying to get this platform just right and make sure that everything is perfect for you guys, but it looks amazing. And we always link all of the articles after we go through all the vaccines, so you can come to me for that. It will be all available on CandaceOwens.com. Motherbird writes, friend went to high school with Blake, said she was not a nice person even back then. Yeah, well, it makes sense. She grew up in Hollywood. She had parents that were in the industry. And like I said, she's never been told no. And now she's got a husband who's a puppy dog and can't even tell her, no, which my husband, if I ever went to him and I was like, can you unfollow? My friend broke up with her boyfriend. We're both in our 36, but could you unfollow him to show him? I know you're friends with him, but he would just be like, you're a child. Like, you are a child. Obviously, I'm not going to walk and get a photograph and then unfollow someone. It's so cheesy. It is so lame. And it is, yes, typical mean girl feminist stuff. Sarah Jones writes, I like the Tom Holland clip. I went back over your DW podcast over Christmas, and I really loved and got something from that article that you found called something like Why I Stopped Drinking. Yeah, that was a really powerful article that moved in my life. As many of you already know, I'm not a big drinker, and not just because I'm pregnant all the time, but it just, I feel the way that Tom Holland does. I don't think it adds any value to my life. In fact, I think it subtracts from my life. I wake up tired, anxious, and in terms of binge drinking, I haven't done that in years. But I mean, having a glass of wine here and there, I say average, maybe drinking wine 3 times a year is probably where I'm at right now. Katie effin Marie writes, I am not a Lex fan, but the third meeting reference was likely because Lex was trying to convince Zelensky to meet him and Putin in the middle of the ocean the next time they meet. Okay, I'm glad to read that comment. When I heard it, when he said for a third time, I thought he meant you come down to Texas for a third time, but maybe I missed the correct context of that. So I'm glad that you were able to write that and to clarify. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am reminding you to head to Candace.locals.com if you would like to support this show and support our independence, and you are really angry about the fact that we cannot be monetized on YouTube and you feel like they are stealing from us. It's okay. You can keep us independent and keep the show free by giving whatever you can monthly to support us. And it's been great so far. We really appreciate you guys in every capacity. Tomorrow, we're going to get into the America First movement because I feel like it's been a little bit infiltrated. And I have a lot of questions about, I know everyone's like, rah, 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 Greenland and Panama, but I just feel like there's something bubbling underneath the surface here. And like we are maybe all barreling toward some agenda that we're not seeing. And I'd like to pump the brakes a bit and really recognize what is happening, who the players are, and to ask a very important question. Has our movement been infiltrated? I will see you guys tomorrow.